why home care and why now. The need, the demand is there, and it gives us an opportunity to really make a difference and leave a legacy or leave a mark on this world that you may not ever have a chance to accomplish this again.
Yeah, that's right. Welcome, elite entrepreneurs and empire builders. I'm Jared, your founder and CEO of Fran Opps. Man, I am so genuinely excited about today. We have this past year, 2024 was a great year. We had a great number of CEOs and founders and presidents, and we even had some really high performing and encouraging and exciting franchisees. But truly, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, we have never had on Fran Opps Live such at the same time, both a highly successful and highly encouraging franchisee on Fran Opps Live. And so you are in for a treat today to hear this story of my man, Lou Romano. As many of you know, or if you've been around here for a while, you've been watching some of these, you're aware that I also run franchise development, or part of the franchise development team for a company called HomeWell Care Services. And HomeWell is actually the company, the franchise that we've had on before. We had the VP of franchise development, Mike Condon, on last fall, and have had some great conversations inside the group about that since then. And I've talked to a number of different candidates and individuals pursuing franchise ownership through it and into home care space, which is exciting. But now we're actually getting to talk to the number one franchisee in the HomeWell Care franchise system. And I mean, this man has been around for a couple decades. He owns half of the state of New Jersey. And man, I truly, it's a joy and a pleasure of mine to bring him on and to share his story of how this past year, how his company, how they grossed over 20 million. And I'm excited to kind of explain that story, get to know his story, talk about his success, and just kind of share a little bit of who he is with you all. Again, you're in for a treat. Write your notes and put your questions in the chat because I love it live. That's the point of doing this. I get to ask Lou those questions and we'll unpack those as well. And so it's going to be a good one all the way through. So without further ado, let's welcome in my man, Lou.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Mike from HomeWell here. So excited for you guys to have an opportunity to talk to Lou Romano today and hear what he has to say. Lou is not only a fantastic human being, he's a dynamic owner, dynamic personality, and somebody I think you can learn a lot from. We have been blessed to have Lou at HomeWell here as one of our longest standing franchisees for coming up on 20 years, believe it or not. And I know when you look at him, you wouldn't believe it. He started when he was 12, but in all reality, he got in early and he's absolutely crushed it. One of the things that I love talking to Lou about is, how he's been able to build a team of people and how it has made him successful in his career. So enjoy the conversation with Lou. We look forward to a great another 20 years with him, and have a great day, Fran Opps fam.
Welcome, Lou. Welcome to the greatest the greatest Facebook group in the metaverse. I'm glad you're here with us.
I'm excited. Thanks for having me. That's some introduction. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it's hopefully it lives up to who you truly are, and I'm excited, man, to get into your story a little bit, and you're more than deserving of it, and even more than we can offer here. And so, I just want to say, like 20 years, right? Is that how long you've been in the business? About? Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
That is very, very, very few franchisees, business owners make it to that mark, let alone make it past the first year. And so congratulations, dude.
Yeah. Thank you. You know what? I'm lucky to be here. I worked for it, but it's, that first year was pretty hard. So I'm surprised that I made it past that mark, and it's gone by very quickly.
Oh, I'm sure it always does, doesn't it? It goes by in a flash. So before we really dive deep into HomeWell and your business and your story, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit outside of just business. Tell us a little bit about Lou.
Yeah, I'm 44 years old. So, you know the age when I started this.
So it didn't start at 12, but pretty close.
No, not 12, 24. Yep. I like to think I'm a homebody. I have 3 kids, or 2 boys, 13 and 10, and my daughter is 6. And I love being with them. I coach some of their sports. I'm hanging out with them a lot. I'm a golfer. I participate in a lot of community stuff and volunteer a little bit of my time for some various charities, and I feel good about it. I like helping people. I think that's always been my thing. So it makes me feel good. Maybe I help some of the wrong people sometimes, but I like doing good. It makes me feel good about myself.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is you can run an 8-figure business and still be a family man, involved in the community, and play golf.
Yes.
That's possible. It's so good. So then let's dive in a little bit then into your franchising story. Why did you, in the first place, decide to get into franchising?
So I was young. I was 24, and I was working in pharmaceutical marketing, and it was a good job coming out of college, and money was good. Yeah. But I never really liked working for someone or even with people. I was one of those. I was the kid in college that I would pick the classmates that I knew didn't want to do the work, and I would do all the work, which was, it's not a good thing, but I wasn't great at delegating or letting go of control. So I just needed to control my own destiny. And so I started to look at, I think it was Franchise Gator. I always forget which one it was, but I was on one of those websites looking for franchise systems like Dunkin' Donuts and Wetzel's Pretzels and Krispy Kreme. And the problem with that was, one, you needed $1 million to open up multiple locations. It was a big investment. And the other is I didn't think that, selling donuts, which I'm not knocking it. I'd love to have a few Dunkin' Donuts right now, but I just don't think it would have given me, filled my heart with what I needed at the time. So, and at the same time, my grandmother got sick, so she went through the healthcare maze.
Oh, okay.
Hospital, rehab, back to home, back to the hospital, and that's kind of where I experienced home care. And I was disappointed overall, but I wasn't disappointed with the caregivers. It was more of the customer service from the agencies, the administrative staff that we talked to. Okay. So I just that's what piqued my interest, and I felt like this is something to look into. And
because did you have people coming to her home?
From the visiting nurse, yeah, we did.
Yeah, okay.
And she was tough. She was a tough lady. Yeah. So she didn't want anybody in the home, and a lot of the care was on us. And I had the extra time at the time, and I was involved a little bit, and it was a rough go.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's kind of, I said, this is an interesting industry, and I just found 6 or 7 franchise systems and looked into it, and I saw that over the next 40 years, the census is they call it the silver tsunami. It's still coming, and it's just going up and up and up. And I just said, there's going to be a tremendous demand. If I could figure out the customer service piece of it, we can do this. And
which is crazy because you got in this 20 years ago, and we're still not even through or even to that silver tsunami yet. And we use on our end at HomeWell, we use the HCP benchmarking report often that kind of identify over the next decade, even for now, the next 10 years from now, 11,000 people will turn 65 every day.
Well, that's a crazy number.
For tsunami. And so it's growing, it's coming, and you are obviously well positioned. And who knows what you're going to do in the next 10 years, next 20 years? It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be good. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, for real. So tell me then, what was that decision for you when you first got in, thinking, if you can think back, and it's 20 years ago, I know that's hard, but when you first get into it, I know a lot of people get into it with this, there's a fear, there's an anxiousness, is this the right call? Is this the right next step? There's so many different concerns they have. What was that decision for you at that time?
It was fun, at the same time very frightening, because I'm coming out of school. I had very little business experience. All I had was a drive and a big heart. And I'm not the smartest guy. I'm about average, So I just felt like if I could do this. The decision to, I was looking at, all types of different systems, and the larger ones, of course, were a little scarier to me because they, it reminded me of what I wanted to get away from, which was, corporate America.
Sure.
I didn't want to be controlled. I didn't want to be told I had to fly all over the place to meet with people, or,
Yeah.
I wanted to have some flexibility in running my business, and HomeWell was really the only franchise system that stood out that I felt they were smaller, a lot smaller.
Yeah.
But I felt like they stood out as far as what my goals were to support me, help me be an independent business owner,
Okay.
and also just give me the flexibility that I need to succeed.
Yeah.
And that's really why I chose them.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about that, because you've been through 20 years with them, and I'm sure I know HomeWell has changed a lot
Oh yeah.
since you first began with them. And
Oh
so
yeah.
I don't even know how to do this. Maybe talk a little bit about how they have helped you be an individual business owner, and how has that really morphed over the years?
Well, then the consistent thing they've done for 20 years is just let me do my thing. I mean, within
Yeah.
reason, of course. I'm not gonna do anything silly, but um, they just kind of, in the beginning, I struggled. I had a hard time, and I worked very closely with them. Joshua Hoffman was the owner at the time.
That's right.
And I think if it wasn't for him in those first 6 months coaching me through the things that I wasn't doing correctly, working through that with me on a weekly basis, I don't know if I would have made it. I don't know. He was a big help. And I'll never forget that. So I just got so much support from them, and the same support is available now. It's just it's different for me because I'm 20 years in. I know the business well. I could probably teach a class on it, and it's just
right. You don't need your handheld the same.
I don't. But the good thing is they're always there. That's what I like about the franchise system. I mean, people will talk about the royalties. Forget about that for a second. You look at, like, I don't know if I could have done this without a franchise. And there are times, there are moments when I have to go back and say, hey, can you help me with this? We need some help. And they're there, whether it's been a year I haven't asked for anything, or 3 years, or or if I'm asking for something every day, they help me. So but they've evolved from the beginning. I mean, there was 5 or 6 people in the franchise helping out and doing things. Everything was paper and pen and phone calls, and now there's just a tremendous amount of resources for a franchisee to be way more successful than I was back then.
Right. Absolutely. And do you have you spent any time or much time going through their learning labs, their LMS?
I have recently. I haven't spent much time doing it myself, but I was interested in it because we're doing a little bit of a reorganization here and trying to maybe get back to some basics. Okay. So I've dropped back into the learning labs, and it helps. It's a great guideline, a great tool for any new employee, especially coming in, that needs like more of an understanding about what we do.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so for those of you who aren't aware, the Learning Labs is their LMS, it's their learning management system. It's their onboarding and training. It's a key part of the support that HomeWell now offers to everyone coming in. And it truly is. I mean, you guys have seen how many different brands I work with here at Fran Opps, but I haven't seen a single brand that has nearly as robust of a support and training platform as HomeWell does. And truly, until you see it, until you put your own eyes on it, that won't make any sense until you actually experience it. But it's pretty unique in that regard. But I didn't know, being 20 years in, how much you actually needed that now, or on that, because it's been relatively new that they've developed that.
Yeah. But you take a look at it and you see, okay, where are we compared to what they're saying? And you pick up like, this is, we're never too old to learn, so I think it would be,
I love that
foolish it would be foolish of me to just not take a look at it or not see where we can improve. Because if you could pick one thing, if I could take one thing out of it, it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's so good. So tell us a little bit about your company today, where you guys are at today. And really, I know Steven's got a question for us in the chat here. Asks, how many employees does a franchisee generally have? So maybe start there with like what most will probably start with, employees, what they'll start with. And then tell us a little bit about where you're at today.
So it really depends on like how much capital you have. I didn't have anything. I was undercapitalized. That was a mistake. So when I started out, it was just myself and my mom, who worked for free. Now, if I open up an office, which I did a couple of years ago in New Jersey, it really depends on the regulations and what you need, but we needed to have a per diem nurse. We needed to have a full-time staffer, an HR person, and a salesperson. So ideally, if you have a really nice savings, you want to try to open the office with, 4 people, 3 or 4 people, all wearing hats, but they'll grow into it and you expand it. But that group of people will keep you on board for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years.
And hey, if you got a mom that'll work for free, I mean,
right. But
as long as you don't have to let her go, that could be.
I couldn't afford my mom, so it was tough. So we made it work, and then over time, after the first almost maybe 8-9 months, we hired some part-time help, and then we started hiring full people from there. So you have to work with your own budget, but you have to make sure you're not compromising the sales time with office time. So that was one of the challenges I faced. But fast forward, we just hired as we needed, as we saw a need, and sometimes even ahead of the need, just to make it a little bit easier. But when you look at where we are then, my mom and I, and now we have 3 locations, probably about 60 administrative staff throughout those 3 locations, maybe around 500 caregivers active working today, and supporting over 12,000 hours of business a week.
Wow.
So it's crazy. We're not small for private pay home care, but we have a pretty good group and we do a nice job.
Yeah. Wow. Incredible. Tell me then, because how big you guys have grown, thinking through the past years, are there a few points where you've experienced any like major pain points were there any points where it was like, this is either make it or break it, or this is just a really big hurdle, and how did talk me through that? What did that look like? How did you work through it? Was HomeWell helpful in those moments? Walk me through.
They were. Yeah. I've probably made more mistakes in business than most. But we're still here and we're still doing well. So it's, you can get through it. It's just a matter of getting through it. In the beginning, like I said, I was undercapitalized. So the first 3 months, 3 to 4 months, business wasn't coming in. I was like, okay, I don't have any more money. I couldn't get any more money. So what do I do? And that's when, Joshua at HomeWell sat me down and, we just really went through what I was not doing, really, where I was spending my time. And it was not in the field like he was telling me to. I wasn't following the system they put in place.
Okay. Yeah.
And he got me back on track to do that. And that's when things, like once I started following the system, things took off. So within, I would say month 5 or 6 is when I finally realized, okay, we could do this. As time went on, the biggest pain points, you have the caregivers. It's a problem solving business. So the caregivers are always going to be a challenge managing it, but they're really the heart and soul and the backbone of your company. And I think if you take care of them the right way, you'll have an easier time with it. Some of my biggest pain points were, surrounding myself with the wrong team members to help me grow the company. Because, when you have issues, I just hired too fast the wrong people. I didn't really find people that were good. I think I put the growth of the company and the revenue before the culture.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So I don't do that. We don't do that anymore now, but I did that for quite a number of years. And those were pain points. I hired some wrong people and I held on to them too long. And now it's much, much different. We have a very different system in place, but those were those pain points, just dealing with the administrative drama. But I think if you just rewind and focus a little bit more on hiring the right person, you'll have an easier time.
Yeah, I love that you came back to Joshua originally helping you, and nowadays, I'm sure you do now too, but every franchisee at HomeWell gets a FBC, a franchise business coach, and which sounds like that was Joshua for you, especially at those critical moments that you needed. And every franchisee still today has a Joshua in their corner. They get an FBC in their corner, help them walk through even these dilemmas of staffing. How and who do I hire? What kind of culture are we going to try to create? they'll be alongside you to help walk you in those. Ultimate decision is always yours. This is your business to run, but you'll have that support with every step of the way in those realms too. So, man, what is one or two what are one of the two most valuable mindsets for you or skill sets that you've learned, whether professionally or personally, since becoming a business owner? Is there a certain mindset that you live by, you've learned to adapt?
It kind of comes in stages. So like in the beginning, I think you have to be obsessed with the business. The mindset to me is you're going to get what you put into it. Yeah, so right. If someone calls me up and they're like, oh, I'm thinking of starting home care, but I want to do it part-time. It's like, okay, but you're going to get part-time results. Yeah. So I had the old school mentality of like, I'm going to outwork my competition. I was young at the time. I'm still young, but I had energy. Right. And I was putting in, 18-hour days, 19. I didn't have to, but I did because in my mind, my competitor was sleeping. They're in bed at 1 a.m. and I'm doing work, and I'm outworking that. And to me, that was a huge thing in the beginning. I just outworked my competition every day. Yeah. And I had maybe a little bit of a fear of failure. I think that drove me. I do my best work when my back is against the wall. Yeah. So that was my thinking then. And I think that's why I was so driven and successful, just based on that attitude. And I don't like losing. I have to always win. And it's interesting because you look at 20 years, the last couple of years, that attitude of, I don't want to lose probably hurt us a little bit, just because it was maybe too intense and too much. So I had to adjust that down a little bit, because when you start, what
does that mean practically?
I think when you start working with people, and delegating and actually letting people letting them do their job and get out of their way. Yep. That's when things really grow. That's when I think your company, you hire the right people and let them do their thing. Yeah. Instead of me trying to control everything, so we're getting to that next level and the next win. Right. So that's what I mean by that. I think you have to learn to work with people the right way. And I'm still learning that.
Yeah. It never seems to stop, never seems to end, especially as people and generations change too. It's a constantly evolving skill set that has to be developed.
You used a great word there. You have to evolve. Everyone has to evolve in the company. Yeah. So it's true.
Yeah. Because what got you there what got you here won't get you there. Right. To where you want to be in 10 years, 20 years. Yeah. What got you to 20 million is not going to get you to 60. It's not going to get you to 200. It's not going to get you, to those next major mile markers for sure. So how has becoming a franchisee, being a business owner, how has it changed? Or I guess, you're really, I usually ask like your family's lives, but you've been in this for 20 years. So tell me about, quality of life. Tell me about your schedule. Are you still up at 1 a.m. out working your competition? Talk to me about some of those things.
Yeah. So again, it comes in stages. So in the beginning, I was single and, didn't have any kids, and I worked a lot of hours, and I had a very supportive girlfriend who became my wife. And my family was always very supportive of the business and the goal. And, my parents were incredible. And of course, my friends too. So I missed a lot of Saturday nights in the beginning, a lot of fun, but that's okay. This was my journey, to get this going. Yeah. And I did that, I worked for quite a long time. Maybe I would say, so maybe 2018, 2019 is when I started to say, all right, I got to slow down a little bit. And I gave up the reins. So no, today I don't work that many hours. I go in spurts. So, usually a busy season for me is like October through January. And right now I'm kind of looking for some stuff to do, so it's, I'm a little bored right now, to be honest. But
it's hard to golf. It's hard to golf right now.
It's hard to golf now. There's nothing to do. So, I just kind of, embrace it. And I try to pitch in with some other projects. I don't have to be here. I don't have to work. I want to, and I love it.
Yeah.
So it's, sometimes I feel like I'm getting in the way a little bit. So I just have to,
Interesting. Okay.
be careful and not step on anybody's toes. I just want to, at this point in my career, I want to be a part of, how the company gets better and how we see the next 10, 20 years going. And I don't know. I think it's a lot of fun to look back and just say, like, I don't have to work that hard anymore. And I would if I needed to. I'd go back to that, sure, if that's what it takes. But I don't know. I'm glad those days are behind me.
Yeah, right. So good, man. If you could go back, what would you do different?
Oh, there's so many things. I would say, well, I would probably understand from the beginning. I mean, the number one piece, if I can go back and do differently, I would hire different people throughout the 20 years. I would take more time having a better support staff, the right people, good people with a good heart. I didn't do that. Like I said, I think I put the growth of the company before the culture and hiring good people. And I paid for that. So,
wow.
But that's the one thing. There's so many things, but that's the one major thing I think that I would go back and change.
Yeah, that's so good. For those that are, watching this now or will watch this down the road too, whether here in the Facebook group or on YouTube later or LinkedIn or whatever it might be, for those that are watching this and have been curious about franchise ownership, have been curious about getting into business for themselves, but are still on the fence, are still in that pre-franchise stage that you once were in, and all the fear and the anxiety and all those things come into it. What would you say? What would be like one last piece of advice or encouragement that you would offer them?
I would say you have to jump into this head first 110%. If you can't dedicate your life and your time to this 100% plus, then don't do it. I think that anyone can start a business, whether it's with a franchise or not. The franchise to me was easier, especially at that time, and I would do it again. But I think that you have to be so committed to the success of the company, and that if you're not, or if you're unsure if you can do that, I wouldn't do it. But you got to be fully on board, fully dedicated to it.
Yeah, that's so good. That's spot on. It's hard it's not going to grow until you do, and there is some wisdom to, because some people are always concerned about, do I have to quit my job right now when I sign? And there's a timeline to it all. And there's some wisdom to maintaining your job, your current position. You're keeping that income coming in for a little bit, but there will be a point of jumping off and jumping all in on this business if you really want it to be successful, which we at HomeWell really want it to be successful too. And so whether it's, if it is HomeWell and you're interested to know, like, hey, Lou's been doing it, and so many of the franchisees now, I think there's 130 franchisees in the system, something like that. And if you're interested in learning more, I want you to type CARE in the comments below, and we'll begin a conversation. It's not signing your name to saying I'm going with HomeWell or anything like that for sure. But, if you are interested, type CARE in the comment. We can get a conversation going, seeing if this is the right fit, because even like Lou looked at a number of different franchises before he came across the right fit for him, which clearly was HomeWell. And that it matters so much to us here at Fran Opps, is we want to make sure, beyond just getting you into a franchise name, we want to make sure we find the franchise fit for you. As Lou was talking about, culture really is so critical. It's nearly everything. So we want to make sure we find the right cultural fit as far as franchise systems go for you. Because not the same thing that's going to be successful for you may not be the same thing that has been successful for Lou. And so I want to make sure that we're finding the right fit for you. And it may very well be HomeWell. It all begins with a simple conversation. So write CARE in the comments, whether you're watching this live or now later, and we will we'll reach out to you, and we'll just kind of pick up the conversation from there. But Lou, man, I cannot appreciate you enough for your time, taking time out of your schedule to be a part of this. I know you just said you have nothing going on in January, so you could do this every, whenever it sounds like, but no, I'm just kidding. But I really do genuinely value this so much. I appreciate your investment into this group.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. I appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, likewise. Well, all right, man. We'll connect again, you and me, another time, friends. We'll see you again this time next week. Actually, next week is later in the afternoon. We're gonna be 4 p.m. Eastern time next week with another brand, and so excited to continue the conversation of franchise ownership with y'all. But until then, Lou, thanks once again, friends. We'll see you all another time.